Stay tuned if you want to see how we built this small garden pond for under £250. Earlier this year we created this wildlife pond. However, a total failure. I made it too shallow, it was too exposed to the sunlight, and algae just took over as soon as the weather started to warm up. So what we've decided to do now is to actually convert this wildlife pool, if you want to call it, through to an actual pond where we can have fish and encourage other wildlife like frogs, newts and toads, which in turn will benefit the garden as a whole. It's very important that if you're removing anything from an existing pond that you use the actual water from the pond. So for example, what I've done there with the little snail, it's going back into the water it's been living in, because you can't just use normal tap water or anything like that, because it's going to contain chlorine and chemicals that will affect it. And the same goes for when you're removing plants like lilies, etc. You want to place them into the right pond. Now, because this particular water feature has got quite a lot of algae in it, some of the weed that's ingrained with the algae I'm putting into a separate bowl so I can give it a bit of a clean out, pulling out the strands of the stringy algae, so I'm not putting too much back into the pond, although I will be dealing with the algae through a pump and filter going forwards, which would then obviously hopefully deal with that using some good bacteria as well. So the important bit here is to really sort of just clear it out. So I'm just going to speed up the process so it doesn't seem to go on forever. It's very important to take care of the wildlife that's existing in the pond. So where you can, you either put them into the buckets of water that will return to the pond when it's finished, or put them close by the pond so that they can work their own way back out of the weed and that you're getting rid of. Because the more wildlife you can maintain, the better it is. So here I am now in me wellies, getting me feet wet. Well, they're not very good wellies if that's the case. Anyhow, we're just removing the plants. You can see some of them are fairly well established, even though they've only been there a few months. So clearly it's a lot of nitrogen in the pond, which is not ideal for pond life, but obviously good for plants. So basically we're clearing the pond out now completely. So basically I've got a liner in there that I need to remove and obviously drain off the excess water. As you can see, I've got pretty much all the plants out quite comfortably. Now with the liner removed, you can see the final dregs of the water just soaking away. So I now have the pleasure of having to dig all this out to create a bigger pond. But it's important to note that you need to make sure that when you're digging out the pond, the sides are always level. So the general structure of a pond, garden pond, is obviously between the soil you need a barrier. You can either use sand or something like that. I actually use an underlay. Then you have the pond liner. Once you've got the water in, you can tighten the pond liner up. But that's the general structure of a pond. So here you can see I've now got the liner in place with the underlay. I've actually used the old underlay and new underlay, so I've got an extra thick barrier between the soil and the liner, giving it extra protection. So as you increase the amount of water in there, you can pull the liner tighter, getting rid of a lot of the wrinkles, and the pressure of the water will help pull it down tight. During the process, we had a little visitor come along to see how we were getting on, and once I got quite a bit of water in there, he decided to go one step further and pop in and test out the pond, which I thought was really kind of the fella. So here's the progress after the first day. We're now 2.5 meters by a meter wide by about 3/4 of a meter deep. Obviously the fountain I had previously running off a solar panel is not going to be man enough, so I shall be going out to get a proper filter and pump to manage this sort of volume of water, which is about 1,500 litres of water. There's a huge range available of water features that you can disguise your pump and filters in. We decided to use a waterfall style with a submersible filter that was ideal for the project that we needed. So here is the pond after a few days with the pump running and the addition of the fish today. There is a link below to all the items I've mentioned, from the pond liner, the underlay, the plants that you can get, as well as the pump. We recommend that you do use a pump with a filter combination to get the best results. As you can see how clear this water is. So as I've said, you will find all the links below to the various items, and here are the costs on this particular project, coming at the grand total of £245.95. Just touching upon how we did the waterfall, we had these pots here, and basically I was able to drill a hole in the bottom, fill it with stone, and hey presto, you have a water fountain. So thank you for watching, please subscribe, and I hope to see you again on The New Gardener.